One thing I've noticed lately is there's a ton of people who have a tendency to believe that mental health care is entirely prescriptive. To them, this may mean taking a whole bunch of medication or talking to a therapist when they're dealing with problems like addiction or depression or PTSD or other related difficulties. And yeah, that's a big portion of it for a lot of people. But something I realized in my mental health journey is in order to really get that healing is you have to be entirely involved in the process. And what I mean by this is instead of just going to a therapist and checking off the box and thinking that your problems are going to be solved because you got it out of your system and you talked to someone, or you took a magic pill and suddenly you're not going to be socially anxious anymore, it's rather like kind of understanding where all this is coming from and then putting the recommendations that your provider and doctor give you into practice daily. And I've talked to a number of doctors throughout the years that have given me their advice and recommendations on what they feel is best for me moving forward. And I just want to share the 6 best pieces of mental health advice that I ever received from those doctors. So the first thing is to always write things down. And this is so important in both work and school as well. And we learn how to do this at a young age. So I don't understand why people just suddenly stop writing when they graduate college or whatever. You kind of never stop learning, and we know it's important to write things down. That's a better way to remember it than in your head, because you only have a certain amount of space in your mind, and when you use it all trying to remember things and you don't have things written on a calendar, but rather you write things out so you can use kind of the RAM in your head to be more self-aware and to use your brain more in a creative way, then it's just something that has always worked well for me. I didn't realize how beneficial journaling was for my mental health until I started to do it, and I'm so glad I started. And if you're someone that's just constantly overthinking or stressed out, I highly recommend you start to write things down and keep a journal, because you'll be able to write things out and then just kind of rationalize whatever you're thinking about and work it out on a piece of paper instead of in your head. The next best piece of advice I was ever given was to not be silent. I have a tendency to bottle things up and not really tell people how I'm feeling a lot of the times, and it's really impacted some of my past relationships. It wasn't until I really started to open up and express to people how I was really feeling and not being embarrassed and just being more vulnerable that my mental health started to improve a lot more. I think communication is just so important, and it's really just a foundation of relationship building in general. And when you're not straight up and when you don't communicate properly how you're feeling, that's when problems arise, and that's when your mental health just gets more and more beaten down. So really try to make it a priority to just be a little bit more communicative. Another great piece of advice was being told to put myself first. And while I know it's admirable to put others before yourself a lot of the times, I think it's so important to make sure that you're good first before you go and help other people, because if you're not able to take care of you, how do you expect to take care of other people? I realized that improving myself improved the people around me, and it was way more constructive and beneficial to first make sure that I'm checking in with myself before I give all my time and attention in addressing other people's needs. And what I noticed was once I started to put myself first and making sure that I was good, I was able to give back more because I had more energy to do so. So I think it's very important to check in with yourself periodically and make sure that all your needs are met first before you give your time and attention to other people. And I don't find this selfish, and I know this is difficult for a lot of people because they feel like they're not being a good friend or something if they're unable to fulfill a request. But I think that you need to always make sure that you are good first. Another great piece of advice I learned from doctors and just my own personal research with starting a nutritional supplement company was just learning all about the mind and the body connection. There's no denying the established links between mental and physical health. Earlier this year, I was having a mental crisis. Things were really bad in my life, and I went to one of my mentors and I told him what was going on, and the first thing he asked me is, are you working out? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping enough? And at that time, I wasn't getting all 3 of those needs met, and I wasn't doing that. And as a result, my mental health was taking a nosedive. And I thought I needed one thing, but it really turned out I needed something entirely different. And that was to take care of my mind and my body. And when I started to do that more, and I got myself in the gym and I was eating better and I got proper sleep, my mental health was starting to increase, and I wasn't feeling as depressed or as anxious, and it was just something that kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, and it really made me realize that, wow, like, yeah, I might have like clinical depression and all that, but so much of these things can be impacted positively by just taking care of my mind and my body. So do not neglect this. You only have one body, and you want to take care of it because it really has a direct correlation to your mental health. Another crucial piece of advice that I've been given by doctors and by colleagues and mentors is you need to be patient. And I have learned this with YouTube. Big changes do not happen quickly. And this is just like when you work out and eat healthy. You might eat a salad, but the next day, if you're obese, you're still gonna be overweight. You need to do it consistently over a long period of time, and gradually you'll start to see small improvements, but they compound over time. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm super impatient. I want things right now. I don't have time to wait. And I think that's only been exacerbated by being able to stream and have all these things at your fingertips at any given time, that our attention and our patience is just really limited. Patience is a learned skill like anything else, and you can improve it with practice. I think this channel has actually tested my patience in a lot of ways because it's a slow growth deal. This isn't like TikTok where I can post a 5-second video with my imaginary poodle and then have 3 million likes the next day. This is something that takes a lot of time. And sometimes you'll see these random videos pop off and these channels just get big overnight, but that's so like hardly anyone. It's just, I know it's easy to get wrapped up in it, but I know that over time this is going to pay off, and I'm going to get the audience that I want to accumulate and build that community around. And this has helped me remember that that's how it is with a lot of things. If you're trying to get a six-pack, that you can't just do some crunches and get a six-pack the next day. You need to do it for a long period of time over and over, like the boring things over again and again, and it slowly happens. But then once you get there, you're just, yeah, what's up? And this next one for me is by far the most important. It's don't let your past determine your future. For so many years, I was tormenting myself ruthlessly because I was constantly just upset with past decisions I made, and if I had done this, then I'd be here now. And it was just messing up my depression and my mental health so much. I started to become a victim of my past, and I would think that I'm too old to start this, or I missed the boat on this, and this is too saturated. And I would throw out all these other reasons as to why I couldn't do something because of me not making the right choices previously. If you made bad decisions in the past, we all have. I don't think anything's too late. And if you have a passion and drive to accomplish your goals, then you just need to start and do it. And don't let excuses and don't let the past get in the way of that. Realize that you made those decisions for a reason, take it as a learning lesson, and just hone in on focusing on the future and what you have control over, because that's really the only thing you can do to gain success in this world. And I know this can be easier said than done for a lot of people, and it's, again, a learned practice, but if you can just forgive yourself and move on and focus on what's ahead of you, you're going to be so much happier, and your mental health will improve just immensely. I know, because that was me. I'm really grateful I got to share this with you today. If this video helped you and gave you some value, please give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe if you haven't, and maybe share it with someone that's going through some stuff and could use these tips. Let me know in the comments what videos you want me to make next, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace, guys.